Glad you didn't, and I'm lucky I got you, but it's the truth.
Joey, you're not Grace's type on the outside.
He invested elsewhere, though. Do you know what I mean?
Like
But
you
with
was in
Mimi.
Casa.
Am I the only person who's noticed the theme with Love Island? If a couple is having a lot of fan support, a lot of love, and people are creating memorials for the couple and stuff, especially people of a certain complexion, the producers then suddenly turn things on that couple so that the one of the partners is treated badly. All this drama about Mimi is not necessary. When Mimi was crying and Uma was having to pick her up, we never saw anything negative about her. And suddenly she's in a couple with someone who cares for her. Now there's all this negativity being spread by the producers. And the more people lash out, the more the producers make things out to be. Because we were told, in tonight's episode, Ayo's going to take her to the hideaway, which is going to do this. We didn't get to see that. Why didn't we get to see that? Instead, we heard Ayo say he's in his couple, he's happy in his couple, he's happy he chose to couple up with Jess. So why all this negativity? People need to stop just reacting and just sit back and watch and see what the producers will do if they don't get the reaction they need. Anyway, I digress. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island, Season 11, Episode 36. So obviously recoupling has finished. There's been no dumping, so couples are just going off in their groups to sort of have a conversation. And you have Mimi go for a chat with Josh. I think Mimi and Josh speak in Morse code. What I think is this. Especially the Black Islanders have noticed a trend in how some of their previous Islanders have been treated. And so they're very cautious in what they say and what they do because they know it will be blown out of proportion. We all know what happened to Shaq and Tanya last season. We know what happened to Dami in his season where he was being accused of bullying. So I think anyone that goes on the show is going to be cautious and mindful. And on top of that, sadly, Mimi comes with the fact that she's trained for 3 years to be a mental health nurse. Her qualification or her ability to sort of practice is governed by her registration, which is governed by her code of conduct. And so there are certain things that she's going to be able to do on TV and certain things she's not going to be able to do on TV unless she doesn't want to continue to practice as a mental health nurse. And this is why she was saying to Josh, in my opinion, I need to make sure you're okay, but I also need to be respectful. Every time she keeps bringing the word respectful of everybody around us. It's not just the Islanders, in my opinion. I think it's not just the Islanders. I think it's their families. I think it's the viewers. Because at the end of the day, whatever she does will likely impact her registration, and she's not going to do anything stupid unless she's got a second career choice, unless she's got something that she knows will sustain her for life. And seeing how some Islanders succeed and some don't post-show, she has to be mindful of that. And I hope the problem they have is they've just recently coupled up. They've recently met. And so they're still sort of learning to communicate with each other. They're still learning to sort of understand each other's Morse code, each other's sort of, how can I say this? Each other's phrases or lingo that they use to mean certain things, because they kept saying, do you hear? Do you hear? So they're trying to make sure that whatever they're saying, the other person understands what they mean. And also they don't want to say anything that might get them told off by the producers, because I have a feeling there are certain topics that they're allowed to discuss and certain topics they're not allowed to discuss. I love how they loved how, the other person was dressed and they were sure to compliment each other. Josh, in my opinion, I think has really came in, I've said this before, came in with an idea of who Mimi was. Met Mimi, realized he developed feelings for Mimi, and so he is struggling to sort of control those feelings and control himself from sort of drowning in those feelings, because he was telling her that I can be territorial, so I hope I'm not making you feel like I'm controlling, because he even said this to the guys, that I don't want to seem like, I'm trying to tell her what to do or what to say in regards her and Ayo. So it's it's good that he's self-reflective, but also it's sad that he's really developed these strong feelings and can't have an open and honest conversation with her. Because I remember last time when he was upset about the Ayo conversations, he said to her, we need to have a proper talk, a proper chat. And it's like, what's a proper chat? What's a proper chat? Anyway, you have Ayo having a conversation with Jess, and Ayo has learned the knack of sort of communication, and I think this is why he and Mimi sort of were together, because Mimi could sort of understand what he meant, and they could talk without getting themselves in trouble with the producers, and also without getting themselves portrayed in a negative way. And so Jess was frustrated because she didn't feel like he was telling her what she wanted to hear, and she walked off. She had a conversation with the girls. Well, she spoke to Jessie with a Y, and Grace. I don't know why. I don't know who made Jessie with a Y, the know-it-all. Anyway, Mimi then came along and she said to her, the thing is, Ayo speaks in riddles, and I sort of am able to read between the line, but still at that, it's difficult to understand. And so I'm happy that Jessie went back. They had a conversation with Ayo. Ayo telling her, I really like you. This is why I brought you back. And I don't get why people can't just leave it at that. The fact that someone can say, I really like this person, and yet people still have opinions. Yeah, you really like that person, but you also really like this person. And it's like, no, you can't tell me how I feel about someone. I know how I feel. I am telling you how I feel. You need to respect that. And I don't get how people cannot respect that, and yet they're willing to respect Nicole and Kieran, who are constantly arguing and they're walking on eggshells. Mimi saying she feels like she's walking on eggshells. I think the problem with Mimi and with Josh is the fact that Mimi came in with an open heart, allowed herself to develop feelings for Ayo, and then Ayo kept trampling on that heart. First with Uma, then with Jessie with Jessie. And what's happened now is a guy has come in that's all for her and is really putting in all the work and is shut out the noise from everybody else around the villa who sort of wanted his attention, people like Grace. And for her, because she's had her heart trampled on, she's finding it difficult to sort of open up to let him in, because she's worried that if I open up and let him in, what if somebody else turns his head and then he does exactly the same thing that Ayo did? That's the impression that I get. And sadly for him, he's coming in with an insecurity that her ex-partner is in the villa. 1. 2, at recoupling, his friend was dumped by the girl he chose in the villa. So I think that's where his insecurity is mainly at, that he doesn't know that is Mimi likely to turn back to Ayo, or is she completely over that? And this is why he keeps asking her, are you completely over that? I wish he could explain to her that I come with an insecurity in the sense that your ex is here. My friend has had a girl turn him down. So I am trying not to put myself in a situation whereby you turn me down and go back to your ex. And hopefully Mimi would understand that. I hope they keep talking anyway, and they keep, trying to iron out their differences. So all the islanders go to sleep. People are cuddling. People seem at peace. In the morning, obviously, they have a mini debrief. You have Ayo, surprise, he brought Jess a coffee with Sean, and Kieran made breakfast for Nicole. So during the debrief between the boys, so you had Sean, Ayo, and Ruben, and they're having a conversation about their sort of situations. Sean is happy, he's now exclusive. Ayo felt some type of way about Jess's speech, and Jess had told him why she gave that speech, and he knows he's got difficulty in communicating. If he doesn't, then he's lying, because he's not expressing himself. So it's one of two things: either he doesn't want to look bad on TV, or he's just, it is what it is. He was asked about Mimi, and he said he's happy in his couple, and he just wants to proceed with that. And I don't get why people can't just take that for what it is. Joey moved on from Grace, and nobody kept pulling him back to say you still have feelings for Grace. And yet, because of him, of Ayo, Mimi, and Josh and Jess, people continue to bring that topic up, and it's like, why? You had Ruben. He expressed that he felt some type of way. Yes, Grace's speech was shady. It was shady. And I personally didn't like it. Because afterwards, I think the guys encouraged him to have a conversation with Grace. He had a conversation with Grace, and he told her, I'm not saying that I'm offended, but I feel some type of way about your speech. And she was, well, I just wanted everybody to know you're open and I'm open. He was right to say we could have had that conversation in private. You didn't need to say it at the fire pit. So for her to run to Matilda and say, I'm furious. This is what I'm going to say about Grace. Grace has a fetish for black men. That's the long and short of it. She likes the fact that they admire her and that they're infatuated with her and they really like her. That's my opinion and I'm sticking to it. Same thing happened with Omar, same thing happened with Connor, same thing happened with Hosea, same thing happened with Blade. Now it's happening with Ruben. And had Josh given her the opportunity, the same thing would have happened. So she likes the idea that they like her, and as soon as they show a liking to her, she moves on to the next one. That's my opinion. Because for her to suddenly feel offended by the fact that he's told, why didn't he tell me last night? Maybe he was too hot and he needed to cool down. Yes, he told you to stop, to wait the eating until you had spoken. But still, maybe he was hot. I didn't like that. Then you have Matilda, Mimi, and oh my God, who was the other one? I've even forgotten the name of the other person they were sitting with. Oh yeah, it was Lolly. So they're sort of talking about their connections, and Lolly saying, she's happy to be with Connor. She thinks things are going great, and she can't wait to continue to grow that. Matilda is happy that she's now exclusive, and Mimi said, she's happy in her couple. She's asked about Ayo, and she said, they have deaded that. They've decided to put it on hold and focus on the people they're with. And the only problem is every time they start talking, they sort of revert to where they were before they broke up, which is to be expected. This is why when you cut off an ex, you cut them off completely. You don't keep talking to them. Otherwise, it's a rubber band. You're constantly being pulled back, coming off, pulled back and coming off. So I get where she's coming from. I wish she would have a conversation with Josh. I wish Mimi would have a conversation with Josh and they could actually address every situation that they're having or their concerns in regards to their connection. So Ruben receives a text message to say, the Islanders are going to play a game. And so the game is called Game Sex Match. And this game was messy. The producers, this is my opinion, the producers have their little minions who are doing their dirty work. Those minions are Joey and Sean. They are the ones that are creating the drama because they're being told what to say to instigate drama between the other couples. That's my opinion and I'm sticking to it and I'm not going to change it because they keep bringing up sore subjects for other couples to try and create tension. And I think they've looked at the equation and they've sort of asked themselves, if the top four, for example, is Joey and Jesse with a Y, Sean and Matilda, Nicole and Kieran, and Mimi makes it there with either Josh or Ayo, then one of them is going home. So to try and get themselves in that sort of top 3 spot and have a chance of winning, this is why they're being messy and they're trying to create havoc for the other couples. And I don't get why. I love the fact that as well reserved as Mimi is, Jessie comes with the smoke. She does come with the smoke, which was very helpful because the other 3 are, well, Ayo is very quiet. Josh is very mature, so he's very selective of what he says. Mimi is someone who's very reserved and doesn't feel the need to always say what she's thinking. So between the 4 of them, Jessie was able to say everything that needed to be said. She was able to sort of put people in their places. The first question was, which is your partner's favorite sex position? And people are getting it wrong, like Jess and Ayo. And it's like, I know your communication is bad, but what else do you talk about? The fact that you're just saying to Ayo, we've just talked about this, how can you forget? It's like, oh my God. And then it's like, boys, if your partner wasn't coupled up with you, who would they be coupled up with? And it's like, this is messy. This is messy. For Joey to say Grace would be coupled up with me, it's petty. I love the fact that he was told that you are not Grace's type on the outside. So apparently it seems Grace dates black men. But in the villa, she wanted to date Joey because she knew Joey would give her the clout that she's after. That's my opinion. So I don't get why she got people in trouble, knowing that those are the type of people she dated. I don't get why she got Omar, Connor, Mosiah in trouble, or even Blade himself, when she knew that's her type. I don't get it. And Joey, no, that's not true. She still has feelings for me. And it's like, oh, please, Joey, sit down, keep quiet. We're not here for it. And then couples, between you both, who is more emotionally invested in your relationship? Obviously, Jess wrote she's invested because Ayo is a poor communicator, and Well, Ruben then was also because Grace said she's open. Josh is more invested because Mimi says she's a slow burner. I don't think it's slow burner per se. I think Mimi's using that because she knows if she doesn't do that, Josh, with the way she feels about him, she might end up doing things she'll regret on camera. And so this is why she's trying to sort of pump the brakes and sort of slow things down with him, because she kissed him the first time they went for a chat in the hideaway. And I think she's realized that she has this connection with him. And in order to slow that down, because she's done a lot more sort of PDA with Josh than she's done with Ayo. So my opinion is she's using the slow burner term to sort of slow him down, instead of telling him that we need to slow down because I can't be doing these things on camera and then go and work as a mental health nurse because my patients will pull me up on it. I wish she could tell them that. And so for Jess to tell off Sean and Joey, because they were giving their unsolicited opinion. And she told Sean, like you were invested in Casa because, he was moving from person to person. I don't get why Sean and Joey are so invested in bringing up, oh, but Ayo and Mimi, there's still something there. Mimi said there's nothing there. Believe it and move on. You don't need to keep bringing it up. This is why I say they're the producers' minions. The next question is, boys, what don't you like about your partner? And Mimi and Josh agree that she's an overthinker. And Josh's reasoning for saying overthinker is because, she overthinks, and that's why we're not progressing at the pace we should. That's the truth. Because she's been hurt, she's overthinking that, will this guy hurt me the same way the other guy did? If she was outside in the real world after her breakup with Ayo, she could have taken a couple of weeks, a couple of months, or even a year to sort of learn from that relationship. But in the villa, she doesn't have that luxury. And so she's having to over-process information. Hopefully she understood what he meant and they'll have a conversation and can move on. So the next question is, which couple do you think won't last outside the villa? And Matilda says, well, because of the comments that Joey was making about Grace, he and Jesse with the Y won't last. And then there's the situation about Ayo and, Jess, because the boys are being petty, saying Ayo still has feelings for Mimi. And it's like, please keep it moving. And then who's likely to bitch about you behind your back? Majority said Joey, which is the truth. I don't know why they didn't say Sean. Maybe they're not being allowed to sort of badmouth Sean. I wish they had badmouthed him as well. Which couple would you ghost after leaving the villa? I like the fact that Ayo and Jess and Mimi and Josh sort of pointed to each other, and Josh was like, no, it might be a good idea for us not to bump into each other. I hate the tension they're trying to create, because I remember there was a clip I saw when the boys were going to pick up their drinks in the evening and you had Ayo and Josh hugging, but that clip was quickly removed. And so the producers are trying to milk this, or the boys don't get along because there's, they're fighting over Mimi or this, that, and the other. And I really hate that. So the islanders get back to the villa, and obviously there's tension because the producers played this game because they wanted to create havoc. That's what I think, because last week people were complaining that it was too peaceful, so they've decided to bring in this mess. You have Sean and Joey have a conversation with Sean sort of complaining that, oh, Grace hates me just because I'm siding with you, but you are my friend and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, please keep quiet. We're not here for this mess. You have the girls talking about the comments that Joey was making, and Jessie with the Y is feeling some type of way because she feels like she wants to know. She asks Grace, is there still anything between you and Joey? If there is, let me know. If there's nothing, let me know. That way I know which way I'm moving. Anyway, they pick up their drinks, and then you have a conversation between Matilda and Joey. And I don't get why people are so convinced about other people's relationships. I don't get why everybody has this, or you still have feelings for this person. Yes, people will have feelings. Just because you have feelings for someone doesn't mean you're good together. It doesn't mean you're good together. It doesn't. It's okay to move on. And so for people to think, oh, Joey and Grace, Joey still has something for Grace, and oh God, it's too silly and too childish and too very emotionally unintelligent as far as I'm concerned. So they agree to disagree and decide to move on. And it's like, oh, it is what it is. You have the conversation between Nicole and Mimi, the one that's ripped Twitter apart. I wish people would stop feeding the monster that is the producers. Because every time the producers put out this narrative about Mimi and people eat it up, the producers continue to push it and push it and push it. And now they're encouraging a conversation between Nicole and Mimi to discuss a connection with Ayo. I don't know why, because Nicole was one of the people that were championing that this connection is over and Mimi has moved on. So Mimi is saying, she and Ayo put their connection to the side. And it's like, Mimi, that's not what you said. You said it was dead and buried. Are you being told to say you put it to the side? Because you said it was dead and buried. Ayo didn't speak to you until Josh came into the picture. So had Josh not come into the picture and you've been dumped out of the villa, would Ayo even have bothered speaking to you, or he would have just let you go home without closure? I thought the last conversation you had was for closure. So for her to say, Ayo has Jess, I have, Josh who's putting all this effort into me and giving me princess treatment. I feel like when she says with Ayo, it's simple and it's natural. Ayo is a very simplistic person. Ayo is still maturing. Josh and Ayo are miles apart. Ayo is at the age, emotionally, he's at the age a girl would be around 18 years old, and yet he's 24, 25. Whereas Josh is miles away, so he's at the level that Mimi should be at. And I don't get why Mimi doesn't understand him. I think Mimi is not used to being treated the way that Josh is treating her, and this is what is scaring her. This is what is making her question whether is this real or not. And had she had a guy before who had treated her the same way that Josh is treating her, she would just take this for granted. She would just understand that this is how a girl should be treated. And after this experience with Josh, she will be different in relationships moving forward, because she will know how she wants to be treated. She's actually said it in the fire pit. So I don't get why we continue to encourage her to say, no, you need to speak to Ayo. Ayo ain't it. Ayo has treated her badly, not once, but twice. And this time, he's saying that he's happy in his couple with Jess. We all know Ayo's type is Jess or Oma. So I don't get why we're encouraging Mimi to go back there and go through the same turmoil that she's already been through. Here's what I think. I think the producers do not have material, and so they're creating unnecessary drama, because this situation whereby people are being sort of going back and forth with their exes doesn't make sense. They failed to create love triangles, which is their speciality. And because they failed to create love triangles, they're now trying to stir up feelings. And it's like, we've only got maybe 1 or 2, 3 more weeks to go. Why are we going back there? Why can't we have a situation whereby couples are just happy and just at peace? Because you have couples like Mimi and Josh. You see them in the background talking. We don't get to see them unless there's tension with somebody else. Because I have a feeling that they've had this conversation. The conversation that was discussed on the terrace, I wouldn't be surprised if Mimi has had that conversation with Josh. Because when they get into bed, they're making out. And yet we don't hear that. All they want us to watch is they want us to watch the mess. You have Joey and Grace sit down for a chat. Joey and Grace, it's time for them to bow out. It's time for them to go home. Yes, they've given us ratings, but it's time for them to go home. We can't do without that mess. I would rather they go home, including Sean and Matilda. Both couples can go home. Both couples can go home. We don't need them. We can bring in a girl for Ruben to see him till the very end, but the others can go home. Even Lolly can couple up with Ruben until the end. That's okay. And Connor can go home as well, because he's not giving us anything. He hasn't given us anything all season. And so it's frustrating. It's frustrating having to watch these conversations be rehashed. So Joey, first of all, has a conversation with Jesse with a Y and tells Jesse with a Y that, he feels some type of way about the fact that Grace is friends with Jesse, because he doesn't understand how she can be friends with his ex, which makes sense. It makes sense. And I think this is the problem Jesse S was having with Mimi, because she wanted to be friends with Mimi, and Mimi's like, I'm his ex. How are we going to be friends? We can't be friends. If in the real world we would never be friends, so why are we trying to be friends here? So I get where Joey's coming from. I like the fact that Jesse with a Y was able to set boundaries for Joey to say, you are not going to bring her name up. The only way you can bring her name up is if she or someone else brings it up. Otherwise, I don't want you to bring her name up, because it's embarrassing. So he took a step back from that, and you could see that he actually took on board what she was saying. He then pulled Grace for a chat. Do I think that chat was going to resolve anything? No, I do not think so. Because the problem is there's too many egos in the villa, and Joey is feeling some type of way, especially given the fact that he's just been told that Grace doesn't normally date white guys. She normally dates black guys in the real world. And so his ego is bruised about that. And so he's trying to sort of boost his ego by saying to her, you still have feelings for me. And it's like, that's not going to solve anything. For her to expect an apology from Joey doesn't make sense. She needed to apologize. He needed to apologize. And the two of them needed to be the bigger person and move on. She went and had a conversation with Jesse and Mimi. And it's like, there's nothing that can be resolved with this matter. You people, when people break up, you can either choose to be the bigger person and move on, or you can just ignore each other completely and pretend like the other person is not there. The Islanders get ready for bed. And it's interesting that we don't get to see Mimi and Josh have conversations unless there's some sort of drama. And it's like, why? The same thing used to happen when Mimi was coupled up with Ayo. So they don't want us to see Mimi sort of being loved on, being cared for, unless she's being treated badly by a guy. Then she's going to be the highlight of the show. Make that make sense? Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 35. Bye guys.